Bonjour, everybody out there in internet land. Welcome to another episode of POD SCUM. This is the podcast, as always, where we delve into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters. We dive in and swim around and find out everything that we can with a plethora of legendary guests. And speaking of legends, I am, of course, your bastard of ceremonies, your host, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's. That's a shirt size and a condom size, ladies. Make no mistake about that. You might also know me as the hair metal high priest, the king of sleaze, the man with the golden voice and the velvet tongue. But most importantly, I am AKA Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Is there any doubt? Take one look. That I am the son of glam, the front man for the band. Got 1 million fans, just smoked a lot of grams. Mr. Wham Bam, thank you, ma'am. Shazam, wop bop blue bop wop bam bam, hot damn. Woo! Oh, and let me also let you know that I am the front man solely for Love Sword, my new project, and I am looking for players. So hit me up in the comments section if you want to be in a band with the great front man, Rex Ruger. That's right. And, of course, as always, I'm coming to you from the Blue Lagoon, the den of sin, if these walls could talk. And, of course, if you, too, want to look as good as me and you want the locks that rock, see it, get it, love it, use it responsibly. Let me give myself a look here before we get down to our guest tonight. As always, this is the No Frills podcast. You don't get the hoopla, you don't get the glitz, you don't get the frills, you don't get the theme song, you don't get the animation, you don't get the cute little glitz and bells and whistles. There is no frills because you get the thrills. Woohoo! You get to feast your eyes on this, ladies and gentlemen. And me being a 49-year-old man, you also get to see me work my technology half-assed. As I send my invite here to my guests, you get to see it all. You see all the behind-the-scenes shit here. I am not the motley crew of podcasts. You do not see me cheating. There are no backtracks. There are no secret little, clicks and cheats and back-end vocals. What you see is what you get, and what you see is all that. Woo-hoo! Look at that. Let me give myself one more look. Let me check out my good side here. Going to be talking to a guy that knows a little something about the guitar tonight. Maybe a potential player for Love Sword. But he is, of course, a legend in his own right as well, because that's all I deal with are legends. And tonight is no different. Oh, and look at that. Looks like he wants in right now, so let's get him on in here for you. Excited about this one tonight. Oh, hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Can hear you and see you great.
Awesome. Thank you. How you doing?
More importantly, man, are you feasting your eyes on this right here, huh? One of the best looking front men in the business right here. I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're looking at Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. right here.
That's right, bro.
Can you tell?
That's right.
I'm looking, what I feel like is I'm looking at a legend too, because this is for people that have lived under a fucking rock out there. And I'm gonna give it to you nicely. Ready? Rogelio Lozano.
There it is, man. Close enough.
But Roy, right? A lot of people call you Roy.
Roy for short.
From the great legendary band, and you don't have to say it, I'll say it for you. Legendary band Downset.
Thank you, bro.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
And I'll tell you what, man, I've been cranking the shit out of this new album, Maintain. And let me tell you, man, but what I really want to know is, though, what seems to be the message here after 8 years? Because I'm noticing in a lot of the song titles in the lyrics, kind of almost like a return to some type of an attitude. You know what I mean? I'm looking through here songs like Maintain, New Respect, Your Power, Positive Mind, Deeper. What is the meaning here?
We've it's been a long time since I've been in the band.
Yeah.
I've never been a part of the lyrics, but I've always supported Ray with the lyric topics and whatever he had to bring to the table. But generally we're in the same ballpark of thinking, and where we've grown up, and we've grown up in the same type of neighborhoods, and we've done some growing up in just the last 5 to 10 years, and especially what's going on in the last couple years, and we had to, we were in the middle of, pre-production and writing music to record the new album.
Yep.
And we didn't have a album title yet. The pandemic stopped us in our tracks, and
Right.
we were forced to leave the studio with all our tracks and all our everything recorded halfway done, and come back 5 months later. Then our manager dies of the Delta virus, and then
my condolences. I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Scott Koenig, he's a good man. He managed a lot of bands, and we just had to hold fast and hold strong, and hold on to our faith, maintain it. And we had a lot of obstacles thrown at us. It seemed like it was just trials, and it was just, we had to keep the faith and be positive. There was times where we didn't know if we were ever going to go back into the studio to finish the album.
Right.
So we just held tight to our spiritual beliefs, and I believe in God, and God came through for me around and again, and we all feel blessed, and we managed to crank this album out and record it with Nick Jett, engineered. He's a drummer from Terror.
Okay.
And,
yep.
And he's been engineering and producing a lot of bands lately, and he came in and fit in really well, and he worked really well with Ray recording the vocals, and he's an all-around musician as well, so he was able to fine-tune the drums, guitars, bass, and vocals. He does vocals himself. So with the help of Nick Jett, he really helped us and get this album done. Without him, I don't know what.
So it sounds like a big part of the message is really just, after all these years, just good old fashioned perseverance.
Exactly. We had no choice.
Yeah.
And we like I said, we had to maintain to our beliefs, and it gave birth to a lot of song ideas.
Sure.
Lyrically, because Ray didn't have lyrics done until after we were done tracking the songs. He still had another three or 4 months that we waited for him to come around and finish the lyrics and then record. So with everything that happened, it gave him inspiration. He came in pretty rusty. He hadn't recorded an album in 8 years, and he had some, he didn't have too many ideas to begin with, and he was in a little rut, but I think something sparked him along the way, and with the things that happened, and all of a sudden he just came around the corner and knocked it out the park.
Well, you guys have historically always been a band, who threads a lot of that stuff into your lyrics about what's going on in society and what's going on in the political landscape, and just things that are going on in our world, that are pertinent, to the here and now or whatever. But how much of being from California, being a California band, how much does an area or an environment really shape your sound? How much of California is in the sound of Downset?
The physical tone, I would say a bit, because we come from the LA punk rock scene.
Yep.
And the graffiti scene as well. The original guys were all in graffiti crews, and so around graffiti you can have a lot of hip hop and rap.
Yep.
And then, but we're also in a straight edge bands.
Right.
So there was there was a big underground straight edge scene and hardcore scene in the late 80s. It was big, and then it died down in the mid 90s. But that's what gave birth to Downset. And there was a lot of the East Coast bands that gave us some influences, like Sick of It All, and and Earth Crisis. And when we were doing social justice, we were listening to bands like Inside Out and a few other bands, and a lot of hip hop, and and really helped us form our groove.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I'm an upstate New York guy too, so I know, man, we've got some of the best hardcore in the world over here in New York. We really do. We're blessed to have a great scene down there.
Hell yeah, a lot of my favorite bands are from the East Coast. Hatebreed, Snapcase, Sick of It All, and Biohazard, and you know, you name it, and everybody, Madball, Agnostic Front. I mean,
Yeah.
they all have Chromags, they all have influenced us, you know, but there's also a lot of West Coast bands, a lot
Sure.
of punk rock bands that really influenced us, you know, and, you know, so, you know, I could start naming a bunch of bands, but, you know, most of the bands, you know, like, you know, Uniform Choice and Instead, and, you know, Fear, and, you know, a lot of those bands really helped, you know, and then growing up where we grew up, and there was a lot of hip hop and a lot of breakdancing, and we always bumped those tunes and loved the bass and the kick and the snare, and that's where our raps came from, and so that's how we integrated it with you know, with the hardcore and punk rock and the metal that, you know, we're influenced by, and the graffiti and the rap stuff, and that's what made Downset back in, you know, 1990.
When you look at when that scene blew up in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and everybody wanted to sound like what you guys were sounding like back in the early 90s, suddenly, you know, the music business caught up with what you guys were doing years before, and everybody wanted to be the next Korn or Limp Bizkit. Did you feel like you ever got the just due and the credit for influencing that scene? Because those bands, from a commercial standpoint, got very big, whereas Downset has not really achieved that commercial success. But for a short window of time there, those bands were huge. Was there any kind of resentment, like, God damn, we were doing that 8-10 years ago, you know?
You know, not really. I mean, I would like to make the money that they did, you know, but
I can imagine you would.
But I mean, other than that, you know, a lot of us were a lot of the original members in the band and myself were content with what we have, you know, what we've brought to the table. You know, it's really difficult to break some of these doors down. Were we some of the pioneers? I would say with rapcore, yeah, we were one of the pioneers, along with Rage Against the Machine, and
no doubt,
and Body Count, you know. But I'm happy for bands like Limp Bizkit and POD and Papa Roach and Linkin Park, and, you know, and they're all nice guys. They're all great guys.
Yeah,
and we've all played shows together. And you know, it's if the name of our band comes in these conversations, I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know, and some of these guys too are influenced by Downset, and, you know, they've come and shook my hand, and I felt, you know, very proud there for, you know, the moments where they come and gave us homage, and, you know, because a lot of these bands opened up for us, and, you know, when we're doing the club scene in LA, when we first, I mean, 93, 94, a lot of these bands were opening up for us. And so, you know, at the Whiskey and the Roxy, and so, you know, we all, it's a small scene. LA's big, but it's, you know, the scene's small, and we run into each other all the time, and it's nothing but respect. And if there was something where I was influencing them with their sound, I'm like I said, I'm only, you know, happy and you know, blessed that I'm in that conversation.
What's the creative process like when you guys get together? Like you said, Ray takes care of a lot of the lyrics. Do you ever have any input in that, or is it just kind of like he brings ideas and those are kind of set in stone? Did you ever have any wiggle room where, like, you throw any lyrics or ideas at it, or do you just kind of stay in the music realm of the creative process?
You know, that's something where Ray really grabbed a hold of the horns in this band, and he's the one who's really stepped forward and had all the ideas when it comes to you know, you know, the topics, but you know, generally we all have the same. We're in, like I said, we're in the ballpark of we kind of think the same. We grew up in the same neighborhoods, and you know, we're from the same area, and so I agree for the most part. You know, for the most part, you know, with his political beliefs, and you know, a lot of subjects that he writes about are about, you know, personal things that happened to him along the way of growing up and being a man, in our manhood and in our childhood, and, you know, so you know, this time around, you know, it was a little bit different because, like I said, he came in a little rusty, and he had a few ideas, but, you know, I think I influenced him. Sometimes, you know, he would say, "Oh man, you know, I still need to come up with some topics. Sorry, I'm behind and everything." And I go, "No problem, man. Just take your time and it'll come." But behind the scenes, I send him songs, you know, songs that I liked, that inspired me, and, you know, that has some cool topic and I'll just send him these songs and I say, check check out what this guy's saying, and check this guy out. And I think one of the songs for it was I forget, it was Maintain, and I sent him a song, and it had some some lyric ideas, and so I think, and I influenced him in maybe one song of the lyrics, but it's really Ray coming out with, it's his poetry, it's his art, it's what he looks forward to doing in this thing. And this is why he did it in the first place, because he wanted to build a platform and speak his mind, and so it's really his realm to take and take the ball into the end zone. It's really his,
And now take me back to because you guys are like a South California. Is that where you're from? Southern California? You're born and raised in Southern California. Yeah. Take me back to how your upbringing was, and how much of the streets really contribute to the sound of your music. I mean, obviously, as young kids, we all get into trouble. We all get into shenanigans. A lot of that stuff is the same, no matter what neighborhood that you go to. But how much of your upbringing and being a kid on the streets influenced you later as a musician? I mean, obviously, the Los Angeles streets, can have a reputation, Southern California, for being very rowdy, being very dangerous at times. How much of that affected you in your upbringing?
I think it affected all of us 100%.
Yeah.
Because each one of us were able to escape and go into, a musical hangout area, or the art, the graffiti art, and
right.
It took us away from, in the 80s, the 70s, early 90s, it was really bad. It was a lot of gang warfare. There was a lot of strong arm robberies. There was a lot of shootings. It was a war. It was a quiet war amongst the Latino community, and it was there was a lot of my friends were in gangs, and then what really took me away from the gangs is playing baseball, and so I chose to go to another school that was not the local high school, but the school that was next in the next district over, and that's where I met some guys and joined my first punk band.
Okay.
And so I think that decision had a big making into my music career, and so we escaped. All of us were in bands, and we were doing some of us were doing charity work at a young age, and Ray was doing a lot of charity work with murals. He would get together with a local friend of ours, and they would sketch murals all across the neighborhood. And, they were like anti-drug slogans or anti-gang slogans, and so we're all involved in these things, and we were, it was it was a tricky neighborhood, because you could get caught up. If you just want to hang out with my buddy that I hung out with, from elementary, and let's say we just want to play some cards, but he's in a gang, but he's still my friend. And his buddies come over and create a scene, and then
it's a little tricky.
Perfect target for the wrong guy to get shot.
Yeah,
and it always happens. And so we had to really be careful with the decisions of who we hung out with and where we hung out with at the time. And if it wasn't for punk rock, if it wasn't for heavy metal was enormous in our community. It was big in the East LA, and I'm from the East San Fernando Valley. It's at the northeast of downtown, and we were lucky to have a big music scene, a big punk scene, especially heavy metal scene. And there was even heavy metal gangs, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of music going on, and it was a blessing, man, just to have all that, just walking distance. You walk over the next block, you hear a band rehearsing in the garage. And there was a lot of bands. There was a lot of bands rehearsing in the neighborhoods. You just walk up and knock, and they let you in. And hey, I just want to check it out. Sure, come on in, have a beer. And there was a lot of bands, a lot of death metal bands, and there was a lot of punk rock bands, and there was a lot of straight edge bands and ska bands, and it was tucked in this area in northeast LA, and there was a lot of underground gigs and backyard gigs every weekend. So those were our escapes, and it shaped my sound, and everything was just hard and aggressive and mean. Everybody was aggressive, and the music just fit just right. And so for me, and so I chose to play guitar and play heavy metal, and that was I love heavy metal, and I just wanted to be in a band at the time, and it was like I was 10th grade, and I was playing baseball, and I joined my first punk band. I just wanted to get up there in front of, in a band and play in front of some kids, even though it wasn't metal, I was still playing. And
that sounds like a similar childhood to mine too. Mine was pretty much heavy metal and baseball. The exact same thing. I literally wanted to be a pro baseball player. That was my dream right up until probably 16 years old, when I all of a sudden discovered, partying and girls and not being as diligent to baseball as I should be. But I mean, you start to discover the pitfalls out there, and you realize when you want to be a pro athlete that it's a lifestyle and it's a commitment, and a lot and a lot of fat has to be trimmed out of your life. I mean,
a lot of it. I played 3 years of college baseball.
Yeah.
I played 3 years in high school, and then I went 2 at junior college, and then I went to Cal State Dominguez Hills University. When I was there, when I was in junior college, we were doing social justice, and there was a straight edge band that we were just before Downset.
Okay.
And then when I was a junior, we formed Downset, and that's when we made the crossover into rapcore. And so we left social justice, and we left that and let it be what it was. And we didn't want to, sort of sell that out, because it was hardcore.
Right.
We can't make a hardcore band with rap, so because we're integrating rap, we wanted to make our own thing. And because, we felt it was new at the time, and, Rage Against the Machine and Body Count just came out, and the Judgment Night soundtrack had just came out, and it was fresh, and we fell right into, it was perfect for us.
An exciting time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that fall we recorded the demo. I finished my baseball season, but didn't finish school because we got signed to Mercury Polygram.
Yeah.
And so that summer I left school, and we went out and toured with our first tour was with Biohazard. We did 42 shows in 45 days. And we supported Biohazard's State of the World Address tour.
Yep.
And that was our first tour in Europe. And then we came back home. Our second tour was a Pantera Far Beyond Driven, another European tour.
Not a bad one to get on, huh?
Man,
not a bad tour at all.
35 shows in 40 days, and it just started happening for us, and and the rest is pretty much history.
What was your position in baseball?
I played infield. I played
third infielder.
Yeah, third and second base.
But I'll tell you what, though, I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you, but Mark Lemke, who played for the Braves and I think won at least a World Series or two with them back in the 90s, played sandlot ball with me once and robbed me of a double, that goddamn bastard. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Mark Lemke.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you got to play against a few major leaguers.
We were playing sandlot ball. I hit a ball in the left center field gap, and we were probably 16, 17 years old, but he went and got it and laid out for it and made a fantastic diving catch. And then, long story short, years later, he's in the major leagues. He grew up like a town over from me. So, and where I am in upstate New York, it's not really exactly a burgeoning athletic scene where a lot of people, come out of there. So when somebody makes it to a bigger platform, and because I think people get confused. I'll tell people I live in New York, and they instantly think the city. When upstate New York is pretty much anything that isn't the city is like upstate. The whole rest of the damn state is upstate.
It's like Buffalo and Syracuse.
Yeah, I'm close to Syracuse. Yeah, I'm very close to Syracuse.
And it's the weather, man. It's the weather. That's the reason why you can't get that many baseball games in and up there.
People can play all year round in the warm weather.
So
what was it for you? So what was it for you first as a kid? Because you have successfully fused these two big genres of music together with heavy extreme music and rap. But what was it for you first? Were you a metal guy first, and then hip hop came along, or is Ray the hip hop guy and you're not into it as much at all? Or
okay, so for me, it all started with Black Sabbath and Judas Priest. Okay. And my brothers were big rock and roll guys. All my brothers, one of my brothers got to see Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, and then my other brother got to see Black Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio and with Ozzy.
Nice, yeah.
And then
Legends.
and then my other brother likes Creedence Clearwater Revival and War. Yeah. And so one of my brothers bought me my first guitar, but my first instrument was drums, and I started when I was 5, and then he bought me a guitar when I was 7. He bought me a Squier Stratocaster, a real Squier Stratocaster, the heavy ones, the Japanese made ones, and I remember it was so heavy. And I the first songs I learned were all the famous Paranoid songs, like Paranoid, Iron Man, and then I learned NIB, and that's what started it all. I was just big into Black Sabbath, then went into Iron Maiden, and then after Iron Maiden, Metallica and Slayer. And so for me, it was just heavy metal. I love the jugging and the fast picking and the alternate picking and the solos. I love doing all that stuff. But and there was a time in there where breakdancing was huge, and breakdancing was everywhere, and there was it was very athletic, and then you had a loud hip hop behind it, and it was everywhere. And dressing in the Adidas suits and the TI suits and all those cool like athletic gear. I thought it was cool.
You got to drop down on the cardboard and show your moves.
Yeah, so everybody had cardboard in front of their house in their front yard. And you, like I said, you had to be strong and athletic to do those windmills. And so for me, that's where hip hop came in. And I got to listen to a lot of that old stuff, like all the Run DMC and Beastie Boys and all that old school stuff. So, it was there. It was, it was embedded in me, but it was really, it was all about heavy metal. But so, like I said, when I first went to Poly High School in Sun Valley, there was a punk rock scene in Sun Valley too. And that's where like I said, during my first punk band, it was from guys that were going to Poly High School.
Right.
And, but I went to Poly strictly for baseball. My brothers went to that school. I don't know how they got recruited because it's out of our district, but that manager, he used to coach my brothers, and he said, "You're coming over here. Don't think about going to San Fernando High School. There's too many gangbangers over there. It's trouble. You're going to play with us."
You were really seriously being sought after for baseball, though. Like, it really could have came to fruition for you.
It was pretty close. I lacked a couple of tools, the speed, but I had the hitting, I had the arm, and I had I had the smarts for it.
Who was your player growing up? Who was the guy that you looked at and idolized as a baseball player?
As a hitter, I like George Brett.
Oh yeah.
And Tony Gwynn. Those two guys.
Oh.
I'm a left.
Those are real hitters. Those are real hitters right there. Yeah, those are guys that those are guys that win like multiple batting titles and like cerebral hitters.
Yeah, man. And then I'm a big Dodgers fan, but in those days, the Cardinals, like in '85, they used to kick our ass. Yeah. And guys like Vince Coleman were scary.
I remember the running Cardinals. That's all they had was speed. Lonnie and Ozzie, and they had Willie McGee and all those guys that could just run. They were crazy.
Yeah, they'll run you to death, and there was no stopping them. And I just remember how good they were, and how much I appreciate Vince Coleman and Willie McGee.
I'll tell you what, we got a pretty exciting season this year because I'm a Mets fan and you're a Dodgers fan. So we're at a pretty good collision course here, really doing some damage here in the National League this year.
Yeah,
it's been a fun season.
Yeah, man, it's changed. The game's changed a little bit. It's a little more flamboyant, but it's a different time. And then the whole thing with the play, calling the plays back to see, replay, the instant replay, that's different. And things are changing, and they want to do some crazy things, and they want to eliminate the shift and all that. Yeah. And so it's, they're kind of tampering with the game a little bit, but I still watch. I still root for the Dodgers. I love the Dodgers. And I just like to see some good baseball. I like it.
Isn't it crazy how this shift, though, since you brought it up, it's really like when a guy comes up and he's a left-handed batter, and they stick everybody over on one goddamn side of the field, though. You know what? They act like they've reinvented the wheel here. Why wasn't anybody thinking about this 30 years ago when we were kids watching baseball? I'm 49 years old. I don't remember anybody moving out of their goddamn spot back when I was a kid. Everybody you might shift a few steps, but nobody. And there were pull hitters back then, obviously, guys known as pull hitters.
I don't know. The game the game is an interesting game. It's one where you learn every day. Every day it's something new. It's something new scenarios. It's the beauty of the game. I don't know what the mindset was back in those days of how they, relied on the pitcher and if, if they were just, going by balls and strikes and shifting their positions by, where the catcher is shifting and giving signs to the outfielders, the infielders giving signs to the outfielders. And then just before the pitch, they do a little cheat. There was a lot of that. And
there was a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that for them was enough because, 9 guys to cover that big field, and so I think now because there's more scouting and there's, now they're down to every pitch.
I know.
And so, and they're doing the numbers, and in baseball that works, do percentages and it works. And so, they'll make sure the pitcher has to pitch in a certain zone. If they're going to do a shift, can't throw the ball outside if everybody's on the other side.
Right.
They
game.
Yeah. So they pitch to their weaknesses and they pitch to their strengths. So, I'm a, if you're a major league hitter and you can't hit the ball the other way, then I don't know what to tell you.
I know. It's a lost art. It really is.
Yeah. If you can't beat the shift, then, get a guy who can hit the other way, but I don't think they should get rid of the shift. It's they're gambling.
It's a strategy. Yeah. It's
they're gambling themselves. They're putting themselves in a big hole. They're giving you the whole other side of the field. So if you can't push the ball over there, and you're in the bigs, I don't know what to tell you. So
let me ask you this. Let me ask you about you guys touring though. Get back to Downset for a minute. What is it that you guys feel like you bring and can still bring as you've gotten older? It's obviously not the early 90s anymore, but you guys really made your bones back in the day on being a very intense, energetic live band. And I believe you guys will actually still bring that. But when you think about like some of the tours that you've been on though, what is it that you like to do when you're on a bill and you're live? Like, what would you tell the crowd? Hey, or tell a potential audience member, someone that is going to come to see Downset, here's what you get when you come and see Downset. Because I had heard a story that you had told about Dimebag coming up to you and saying that you were a band when you were on tour with them that pushed them to be a better band by opening up in front of them and kicking so much ass that Pantera had to come out and almost answer the challenge, so to speak. As long as if I have that correct, do you still feel like you have to come out and really still make your bones live and just throw down?
Yeah, man. I think when we were in that hardcore band Social Justice and we were playing with a lot of straight edge bands and a lot of these guys were very athletic and very physical. And there was a lot of that jumping and a lot of stage diving and the singer jumping and fist pumping in the air and they catch those photos, and we thought, growing up, that was really cool, but the crowd reacts to that type of energy. They react to that type of physical energy, and they could see when it's genuine. Now, I could see when it's choreographed, so I think with us is that we were really into what Ray was saying, and we really backed him up and believed it. And, we wrote a lot of these, some of these songs we would write, specifically just to get the crowd,
Sure.
Here's going to be the breakdown part. Here's going to be the beat down part. Here's going to be the downstep part. There's a lot of different beats that you work with to, where there's areas where there's a breakdown, and you drop a drop step beat, and, it's you get a whole different dance from the crowd. So these days I know that we can bring it, we are in our 50s now, but we're all still in shape, and I think we really believe in what Ray's saying, and we're inspired by it. And so I think that brings into our physical play. And, for me, I like to bring a lot of amps on the road, and I like to sound big, big as possible, because it's heavy music, man. If you see my rig.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. Like I like to,
wall of sound right there.
Like to sound big, man, because it's aggressive. And if you're gonna go out there with a little half stack, who's gonna hear your guitar?
Right,
That's just my opinion. At least go up there with the full stack and because this is aggressive music, that brings a lot of energy out of me. A good sounding band, guys that can play their instruments well and they're well rehearsed.
Yeah.
And a good drummer that is kicking the shit out of the kicking snare.
Yeah.
That brings a lot of adrenaline out, and it brings out these crazy energetic moves while we're jamming, and then the crowd responds, and then we respond more, and then we connect. And so I think that's what I think what we're going to bring is that we're going to bring a connection.
Yeah.
And so
Now you were able to achieve, and you've done this on almost all the Downset albums. I think it's just been so long since we've had the last one that that we haven't heard it in so long. But just a sick, brutal guitar tone on this Maintain album. Do you feel like you have a distinct sound that makes you recognizable? And the second part of that question is, who are the guys that you looked at as guitar, heroes when you were growing up and gravitating towards the instrument? Who are the guys that you said, wow, that guy is, I'll stop and listen to him all the time?
Yeah, well, to go to your first question, that was one thing that our first producer, Roy Z, he produced. He's a really good guitar player.
Yeah.
He was one of my first guitar teachers, and he always stressed out that it's important to have an identity with your sound.
Yes.
If you listen to Santana, it's Santana.
Absolutely.
If you listen to Kerry King, it's Kerry King.
Yeah.
So that's something that was embedded in my head, and I've always I don't learn many cover songs for that reason, because I want to make sure that I stay trying to reinvent my own wheel, but stay in the style that I think I have. So I think I do have an identity with the style, with the riffs, and with Downset especially. I know what that sound is. I know where our templates are. I know where we sound best. I know where our tunings are. We have different tunings, but we have two distinct tunings: drop C and drop C sharp, where we have where we sound our best. And it's a drop chug. It's I don't know, you call it dejent these days.
Yeah.
That
You gotta keep up with the terms, right? You gotta keep up with the terms.
So it's to me it's just a jug crunch, and so I've always made sure that crunch had a lot of bottom end and cut somehow, and I just always worked on that. I always worked on to make sure that there's a definition with some heavy bottom end to it, and that kind of helped me create my sound. If you hear the song I did with Cypress Hill, Rock Superstar, it's the same thing. When that song came out, my bass, James Morris from Downset, I didn't show it to him, and the first time he heard it was on the radio. And he stopped and he said, "Hey, that sounds like Downset."
Yeah.
And he told me that.
Yeah.
And I go, "Well, it's me."
Yeah.
Because that's me. And he goes, that jug. And so, I maybe I created my own little style with that. And with rapcore, I know how to, get them beats together and set that template for Ray, and so, to your second question, there's quite a few guys out there that lately I've been listening to, and then at the same time I've been listening to my whole life. And it's Randy Rhoads, it's Tony Iommi.
Yep.
Those guys are my favorite. Jeff Hanneman.
Yeah. Rest in peace, the great Jeff Hanneman and Randy. Yeah.
Yeah, both those guys. Who else? Jakey Lee.
Yep.
He's badass. All the guitar players for Ozzy. They always just Warren DeMartini.
Yeah.
He's from San Diego, but when they moved up here with Rat. And and another band called Warrior, and there was like 3 San Diego bands that moved up here, and they all hung out. They all lived in Burbank with and I know Randy Rhoads had something to do with Quiet Riot, and all those guys were from Burbank, And our first studio that we recorded at was it was a Silver Cloud in Burbank. It's no longer there, but it was owned by the guitar player from Warrior, and he was the guy who his name is Joe Floyd. He recorded the first 3 Downset albums and with Roy Z at that studio. But when we did our first demo, the Anger and the demo that got us signed to Mercury Polygram, Warren DeMartini showed up.
Really?
And he sat down and he listened to Anger, and he says, "Man, you guys have a new sound. I can get you guys signed next week." We're like, "Whoa, Warren can get us signed!" And
wow,
and yeah, he was that impressed. But we had a manager. He was already shopping, and we had already had interest. And we got, there was a couple labels that wanted to sign us. There was like 3 labels, but we went with Mercury Polygram. But it was really cool that Warren came in, and he was the first guy that really said that, that can, outside of our circle, we could just, a whole new set of ears come in and say, "Oh, I can get you guys signed."
And especially coming from a genre of metal that's more like more akin to like, glam and hair metal, I mean, at the liberty of using that term, which I know they probably don't like and is kind of insultive, but I mean,
all those bands in those days, all the guitar players, they were all beasts. They were beasts, man. They were unbelievable. Vivian Campbell, like all these guys, man, all these dudes.
I think a lot of them didn't get the credit for being players because they were judged more on the hairspray and the looks and the glam side of it, and they weren't given enough credit. And then like now, after the dust has settled and they're not young anymore, and the image and the makeup and everything is faded, you really see like, wow, back then and now, these guys are just fantastic guitar players and musicians in general. It was a lot of obviously, I've said it before, it was a lot of style over substance back then. So unfortunately, image was kind of was kind of the kind of the calling card back then. But
and all that was new too, and that was punk rock in a way. They dressed, they were very out of the ordinary, and they were dressing okay. They looked like chicks, and they put on makeup and stuff, but they had all the girls. Right.
That's true. And they looked like girls.
But those guys, all those guys like Poison and Warrant and Def Leppard really isn't that much of glam, but all those bands, they all played really, like, those musicians were high level musicians.
Absolutely.
They were really good. Like I'm listening to Poison right now because that guitar player is, that song in I Want Nothing But a Good Time. I don't know how, but those guitars are like
awesome.
They're loud, and I know he's playing a Gibson through a Soldano. It's like, fuck.
But the thing is, those bands are out there right now, and they're still packing in huge stadiums. So there's always going to be a nostalgia attached to that, and a whole and generations of people that are going to harken back to those songs as part of their youth and their, the soundtrack of their life, as I always say. I mean, all the music you listen to just seems to just be one big loop of a soundtrack, of your whole life.
Exactly. For me, it was a little hard to listen to these guys and watch them on video because of how they looked. But I liked the music. Motley Crue was another one. Who they did a lot of crazy, a lot of stuff that I might not like. But their music was incredible. Because
when a song has a hook, when a song has a strong hook and it gets its hooks in you, what I mean, it's hard to. I think what I find the most fascinating about your specific guitar tone is how heavy and crunchy and fuzzy you're able to get such a tone, but also keep such a sense of because you're playing along a guy who's presenting the lyrics in a hip hop type of cadence. So you're keeping such a vast amount of melody in there, and I find that's what it's amazing. You have a lot of melody, and those breakdowns are very melodic. It's very hard sometimes to play extreme heavy music and some people lose that melody.
Yeah, we're Ray and I understand what our sounds like and what our templates are. We don't use that many, maybe 3 or 4 templates. And there's templates that we made, and I like the simpler it is, I think the heavier it is.
Yes,
and you have to, when we write, and this is how I write for Downset, and for other bands it's different. But for Downset, I make sure that I always have Ray's vocals in the back of my head, and I always have him making sure that he can rap flow over these verses, And so make sure that there's enough verse time, and it's because we've been doing this style of music for quite a while now. It comes a
Right.
little easier. The challenge is to make it sound a little different, but keep the same, sound, same
Yeah.
identity. So that's the challenge for us these days, is
Right.
to make it sound different, but fresh, more fresh. And so.
And now you guys, back in your early existence, you guys went out on tour with Pantera, and forged somewhat of a friendship with those guys, right? Like you pushed those guys every night, and they had a lot of respect for the fact that you made them a better band. They've gone on record as saying that. When you look at this new Pantera reunion that's going to come about next year, are you for it or are you against it? Getting to know those guys?
Oh man, 1,000% for it.
For it, yeah.
When they got the right guys, in my opinion.
Yep.
Zach Wilder they were very close with Dimebag, and Zach were very close.
Yep.
Through a lot of years. I know they were close to Kerry King too.
Yep.
And the drummer from Anthrax, he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's great. Who else better to have him than that guy? That guy can really kick it. And so I'm really happy for Phil and Rex. They're really good guys. They treated us really well, and we did get close. And it's just unfortunate things that happened. With Dime and his brother, and it sucked that they couldn't come around and reunite as the original Pantera. But it's just. Life goes on, and things change, and people love Pantera. They love the music, and they're gonna want it live. They want to, as long as Phil's alive, he's the vocalist. He's the voice. There's no other Phil. I mean, could they replace? Anybody can be replaced.
Right.
Anybody can be replaced. It's not obviously gonna be that same Pantera or that same Black Sabbath.
Right.
But people are still going to want to hear that live song from as long as there's one or two original members. They can still get that connection that because there's still that guy, the original guy. Once all the original guys are gone, and it's that's it. Now it's just it's cover. But since you still have half the guys, and go for it.
Well, you can always paint their face. You can always paint their faces up and take Gene Simmons' new approach, where he's just going to put 4 new guys in there all the time. Did you see about this online, where he just says Kiss can go forever? Just put 4 guys in the face paint. Do you like that? Stupid, right? I mean, Kiss could essentially live forever, and you could find 4 musicians. But then, what have you turned it into at that point, though? I mean,
that's ungenuine for me.
It is.
I mean. Could it last forever? Yeah, sure. There's always there's cover bands that get big. But you're not gonna have that real Kiss vibe.
Let me ask you, because you're a guy with such a unique tone. I want to get your opinion on this because it is such a hot topic right now. What do you think when you see these bands, as we mentioned earlier, the bands like Motley Crue and Poison, as you mentioned, and Def Leppard? You pretty much named all 3 of the ones that are on the big stadium tour right now. And Kiss is another one that's been coming under a lot of scrutiny on YouTube. What do you think about these bands as they get on in age, using these little cheats, whether it's backing track vocals or click tracks or whatever? Do you think, are you the type of guy that likes to see the live experience and see the mistakes and the warts and all, so to speak, or are you okay with going and getting the best that these guys can do, and if they got to use some tricks and some behind the scenes shit to do it, so be it?
I think it all depends on the band.
Yeah.
It all depends on, some bands need the extra click stuff and the backing tracks, and some backing up vocals and some cheat sheets, and some bands need it. Other bands, it won't fit them too well. But
at the end of the day, if you walk out of a show and you find out that they did that, or that you don't think it was the genuine live experience, how do you feel? Do you feel ripped off, or do you feel like I saw a great show with guys that are doing the best they can at their age?
It all depends, man. If like you said, you go see Milli Vanilli, and where they're really trying to fake you out,
yeah,
and then you find out, they were really just cheating and lying. you know, then I feel cheated.
Yeah.
But when you have a band that's been around, let's just say they've been around for a long time, or and they have a big production, they have a lot of stuff going on, and what's coming out, there's a lot of live stuff coming out and whatever, and it sounds good, it makes you feel good, then it's fine, you know. Or even some of these young bands, they, you know, that are new and they're big, they have a big stage production, and you know, they have a lot of triggers that help them sound better, you know.
Yep.
You know, it's, for me, I don't give a shit. I don't care, you know. But like, I know that there's you know, like as a fan, like, you know, if I went to go see Black Sabbath and Ozzy's not singing, then I'm gonna feel cheated. I'll feel, you know. But like I said, man, it all depends on, you know, you can see how genuine things are, and what comes out of the speakers too. But you know, I'm not too. I don't feel too disrespected by that stuff, really.
Okay.
You know.
So the other night I had the pleasure of talking, and he spent quite a bit of time on here with me, with Bobby Blood, your new drummer.
Yes.
What has Bobby brought to the band? And because I had a great chat with him, and we talked about his horror movie endeavors, and just, you know, had a really great conversation. What has Bobby brought to the band, though? What do you feel like what do you think he's infused into the mix?
Well, the most important part is that he's a brother, a friend, a good friend of ours. I've known Bobby for about 11 years now, and I met him when he was playing with First Blood. He's back in First Blood.
Amazing hardcore band.
Yeah,
amazing.
Great. Yeah, awesome. And he was also in Marauder.
Yep.
And at the time, I joined First Blood to fill in on second guitar, but I was asked a little bit too late, and I didn't get a chance to learn the songs. So I didn't, you know, I didn't make it in time, but I went out on the road with them.
Right.
However, I still went and helped them, you know, teching and driving, and, you know, and it was very important tour for me, because I had been in hiatus myself. I'd been away from the scene for a little bit.
Yep.
And they rejuvenated me. They brought me back to, you know, they have so many connections with so many bands, and so, you know, hardcore is there's so much to hardcore. There's so many bands out there, and you know, my hiatus really took me out of the game for a minute, and so they kind of brought me back in the game. They're showing me different types of, you know, there was beat down hardcore now, and there's all kinds, and there were, you know, there's all these new crews and hardcore crews and new bands, and they taught me about, you know, all these new bands like Terror and like a bunch of stuff. And so I got rejuvenated with them, and I made good friends with Carl Schwartz, singer, and Bobby. And you know, I've always told myself, you know, they're really easygoing guys to be on the road with. And so when I formed another band, that's called Cutthroat, LA Cutthroat, with Neil Romer. We formed that band from the ground up, and we called Bobby to come and play with us.
Okay.
And we did a couple tours. We did a Japanese tour, and it was just so pleasant to tour with that guy. And so when we first started the demos for the Maintain album, you know, Ray and I, our intentions first were to ask all the original members to see if they wanted to rejoin the band. Right. And to, out of respect, and in case if they want to come back and rejoin the band, and we wanted to have the original band. Sure. That was our, you know, our goal. Yeah. But it didn't happen. You know, 3 of them, they passed respectfully, and they said, you know, take the ball and run, you know, and good luck. And I said, thank you. And so I was back to the drawing board, and I'm like, wow, man, who's available? You know, and my good buddy that I just got off the road with, you know, Bobby Blood. And so it was easy for him to come in, and because he loves Downset is one of his favorite bands. Yeah. So he knows the style. Yeah. So he came in, and it fit like a glove. He got along really well with Ray. Yeah. And you know, he came in, and we did some pre-production with Nick Jett. We did 2 months of that. And, you know, we banged. It was tough. It was hard because of the pandemic, and he lives in Las Vegas, and and the timing was difficult. And I wish we could have been in the studio a lot with some more hours, but whatever he was able to give me and everybody else, we made it happen.
Yeah.
And he went in the studio with Nick and he knocked out his drums, and he was really happy with his tones, and we're all just really happy with how he performed. I wish we had more time, but we just we didn't. We ran out of time. It was
right.
It was we were like it was like a 9-inning ball game, and so he came in. It's like he came in the 5th inning. He came in and
right,
the reliever and closed
middle
the
reliever.
Yeah, and so he his personality fit in really well with us, and he knows our upbringing. We have a similar upbringing, and we come from the same genres, metal and hardcore, and because he loved Downset as much as he did, was really one of the biggest reasons why we asked him to play for us.
I'm glad you said that he performed well, because he also performed well on here the other day, and usually about halfway through my interview, and I've got some other stuff that I want to hit on with you about, but I do kind of like a hot seat type segment where I call it throwing my guest in the furnace. And Roy, I think you're going to be perfect for it. These are just off the cuff choices. I'm just going to give you 2 of them, and you just give me, and there are right or wrong answers here, Roy. I don't mean to put you on the spot here, man, but you are being quizzed here, okay?
All right.
Okay, out of the 2 ices, iced tea or ice cube?
Iced tea. But we love Ice Cube too.
Doing the dishes or doing the laundry?
I do them both.
Okay.
I do them both.
Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair?
Hulk Hogan.
Oh, here's one right here that somebody emailed me. Settle this one for us. Jordan or LeBron?
Man, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, thank you.
Michael Jordan.
Now here's one you might have a tough time answering. Beastie Boys or Biohazard?
Beastie Boys.
Whoa, and you've worked with those Biohazard guys. You might catch some hell for that.
It's all right, man. Okay, all right.
As long as you can smooth it over with them, Roy, okay?
They know I love them, man, but Beastie Boys are a big influence in me.
Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Okay, here's a tough one. Out of the 2 Vinnies, Vinnie Paul, Vinnie Stigma?
Stigma.
Oh, that's a nice answer. I love Vinnie Stigma too, right? How can you not? Steve Vai.
But Vinnie Paul is my bro.
Steve Vai or Joe Satriani?
Steve Vai.
Here's one. Suicidal Tendencies or Deftones?
Deftones are my boys, are my buddies, but like Suicidal, they're
wow.
Suicidal's my influence.
I can tell I'm really putting you through it here, Roy. These are some tough ones for you. NWA or Public Enemy?
It's right up the middle, man. Public Enemy was a big influence for us.
Yeah.
But NWA is a really helped us with it. NWA, man, because they're the ones who really helped us with the gangster rap.
NWA, final answer. Okay, out of these 2 movies, Boys in the Hood or New Jack City?
Boys in the Hood.
Marvin Gaye or Stevie Wonder?
Marvin Gaye.
Stevie Wonder really blind, you think, or been faking it all these years?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I got my doubts, Roy. I really do. Okay, here we go. A couple of DJs. Pete Rock, Jam Master Jay.
Jam Master Jay.
Okay, here's the last one, and this is the toughest one right here. David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar.
David Lee Roth.
Oh, that's the right answer. Okay. You know what, man? You passed. And you know what? I think you did better than Bobby Blood. Bobby Blood struggled with a couple of them because I asked him, I put him on the spot and asked him Agnostic Front and Sick of It All. That was one of the ones that came up in his. I will let you know that he did take Agnostic Front, though. So.
Oh, he did?
He did.
I take Sick of It All, even though, I know Agnostic Front guys a little better, and they're my boys. And
it's so hard.
It's just who I connected to first. I
you rose with the occasion right there, Roy. I got to say that, man, that if I had to grade you going on down the line, I think you got most of them right. Thank God you came out and said that Jordan is better than LeBron. These kids nowadays, they don't know what we saw back in the day with Michael Jordan,
Yeah, he had to go up against guys like Kareem, Magic, and Karl Malone.
And those guys were playing defense, too. If you came traipsing into the lane, you got fucking clotheslined. You paid
man.
for it.
You got the mailman. You got David Robinson.
Yeah,
he had to play against Larry Bird, and there was a lot of stars back in those days. It's a different game these days, man. But LeBron is great, but Michael Jordan he's
the GOAT.
He's an icon, man. He's a big brand.
I argue about this with my son all the time, man, about that old school mentality where guys really made you pay. I don't know that LeBron would have been successful in the 80s, 90s era of basketball, but I also don't know that he wouldn't have been because he is a big old truck. You know what I mean? Like, he's pretty physical and pretty athletic or whatever, but he would have had to earn a lot of those easy buckets that he gets in today's where they're all friends and they all want to be on the same team and they're all just out there shooting jumpers and kind of playing this half-ass defense. I don't get it.
The thing I give LeBron is that he's been on different teams and won a championship.
Yes, that's impressive. That's
impressive. Where Michael Jordan was on one team and they dominated. They were a dynasty. Yes. So he never, LeBron would build a quick dynasty.
Yes,
and you could probably build a faster championship with LeBron than you would with Jordan.
I would say that's true. Yeah,
because Michael Jordan, it took him a long time to. Took them a long time to get that championship, but when they had Scottie Pippen and they had, had the role players, and then they stuck together for a while and they won their, 3 or 5 championships, whatever it was. But like, if you were to ask me who would I pick to win a championship, I would pick LeBron.
Yeah.
If it was like for just this year,
but needed it
for longevity, for more championships, I would pick Jordan. But if you want that quick championship, I would pick LeBron. It's just because he's a bigger guy,
And plus, LeBron has gone to some finals and he has not fared so well in one, where Michael always went and won. I mean, he didn't come away empty-handed ever. So let me ask you about, I'm very fascinated with your friendships and your collaborations over the years with, of course, the great Sendog of Cypress Hill, probably my favorite rap band of all time. If I had to collectively sit down and think of my favorite rap group, I mean, just the dichotomy in the two sounds, where the low Sendog voice and the whiny, nasally sound of Be Real and just DJ Muggs, they're just a fantastic, fantastic group. How did your friendship with Sendog start? Have you known him a long time?
Yes. Well, here it goes. He sang on the State of the World address.
Okay.
With Biohazard.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we were aware of that, and we did that tour with Biohazard.
Yep.
And then there was a time when we had some time off, and then Biohazard was playing at the Whiskey. Sendog has a brother named Mellow Man Ace. I don't know if you know who he is. He was the first Spanish where he integrated Spanish into rap. He had that song called La Mentirosa.
Okay.
It was a big song, and he used to be in Cypress Hill, but he left Cypress Hill to do his own single rap career, and he went big before Cypress Hill. So just a long story short, a lot of people don't know that Sendog and Mellow are brothers. So Biohazard had a show, and they had called Sendog to come in and participate on that one song. It's called How It Is on live, right? And so he brought his brother Mellow, and at the time I didn't recognize him. They went on stage, and then Sendog was getting ready to go on stage. He was on the side, and I snuck in backstage to see if I could find me a beer from in Biohazard's dressing room, because I had all access. And so when I walked in the dressing room, Mellow Man Ace was there. And so, baseball was the topic of our conversation. We kicked it off talking about baseball because he was talking about baseball. And so we had sat down, and the band, Biohazard was already going on, and we're having this elaborate conversation. And then he asked me, he goes, "Hey, by the way, what's your name? And what do you do?" "Oh, my name's Rogelio, and I play guitar in a band called Downset." He goes, "Oh, I've heard of you guys. My brother really likes you." I'm like, "Well, who's your brother?" "Sendog." "Oh, okay, nice." And so they were in the middle of doing Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're almost done with that album. And so Mellow, he put me up to game on what was going on with the album. And we're recording in North Hollywood. And I'm, "Oh yeah, I live in North Hollywood." And he was like, "Yeah, man, they're doing a rock album and a rap album, and they're gonna release it together. They're gonna release 2 albums.
Yep.
They still need a couple more songs. You should come down to the studio. Here's my number." I'm like, "Whoa, okay." He goes, "Call me at noon tomorrow." It was a Sunday. And I said, sure, I'll give you a call. And so, you know, he said it really fast, and I didn't think he'd remember, but I was going to call him. But 12 o'clock comes by, 12:15 comes by, and then I gave him my number as well. He calls me first, and he says, hey, Roy, what's up, man? I thought you were going to call me. Oh, you know what? I was going to call you, but not today, because I didn't think you were that serious about me coming down.
Right.
He goes, quit with all the bullshit. Get your guitar, bring your amps, and come to the studio.
It's a big opportunity.
They need your help.
Yeah.
Like, really? Because they had already done 3 songs with Fear Factory.
Yeah.
They did a song with Brad Wilkes from Rage.
Yep.
And they did 2 songs with SX10, Sendog's band at the time.
Yep.
He was in another rapcore band called SX10, and his guys came in and they had a batch of songs that were really good songs.
Yeah.
But they were still looking for some single qualities, something to be more like something they can release as a first single, and they just didn't have that banger that they were looking for. Right. I show up, man, and I was ready, and I had all my stuff in the truck, and I walked in the studio and introduced myself, and they said, and Mello had left, and he left a message to tell me that sorry that he wasn't going to be there, but to ask for Be Real or Muggs. And so I went in there naked, as like I just walked in, and Muggs took me into the studio, and he showed me all the songs, and I sat there and I listened to everything that he showed me, and I was really, like I said, man, I was blown away that he was, showing me all this stuff and taking me serious, and so the first song we did was Can't Get the Best of Me. And that was a song with Brad Wilkes from Rage Against the Machine. Mm-hmm. And then the second song I did was Rock Superstar. And so those were the 2 singles that, that they dropped first. And huge. And so basically I hit a home run and a grand slam in my first 2 at-bats.
Absolutely, you did. Yeah, you did.
And so that's what kicked off our, God was on my side, man. And I was really nervous. I was drinking a lot. I was trying to calm my nerves. And it was beautiful for me because, for the second song, Muggs asked me to come back. And when I got there, there was nobody there but just him and the engineer. And so when I walked in, all my stuff was already there. And Muggs said, look, I got a meeting in Hollywood that I got to go to. But here's the song I was telling you about, which was Rock Superstar. Make it heavy. Make the verses heavy. He just kept doing this. Yeah. Make it heavy. Yeah. And then
that's a universal sign for heavy.
Yeah. and then he goes, and the chorus, make that shit hype. Make that shit hype. Yeah, I'll see you later. And he walks out. So I walk in, and it's just me and the engineer and this badass SSL board and all the tracks that I want to record on. It was just like a kid in the candy store. Yeah. And I just kept saying, patch me another track, pan me left, pan me right, pan me up the middle, pan me off to the side. Now I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And the guy was like, the engineer was Troy Staton. He recorded the Body Count, that first Body Count album.
Yep.
And the Wu-Tang, and he had just finished doing the GZA's album he had a solo album called Beneath the Surface, the GZA from Wu-Tang Clan. Yep. And Troy Staton was way cool, man. He didn't question anything because he liked that I had a direction and I had a plan. Yeah. And it was working, and we came up with Rock Superstar, and the rest is history.
And when you hang out with those Cypress Hill guys, man, I mean, are you able to keep up with them from a weed consumption point of view, or no?
No. Not when it comes to when you're up to bat, whether it's live or you're getting ready to record or design some sound. Yeah. Maybe if I'm not playing guitar, I'll take a hit. Yeah. But I wait for after.
Those guys are professionals, though. Those guys are professional smokers.
I've learned how to smoke the best weed with them, and and now I still smoke. Me
too. Yeah, but they don't fuck around. Those guys. I mean,
no, man. Be Real is a pioneer when it comes to cannabis. And he's really big in the scene, and
He was really one of the first guys in the music scene that was really out there, really championing it back when it was very, very, very much still looked at as very taboo.
You know what? When I got a chance to tour with them was 2000 through 2003.
Yeah,
I was touring with them. I was playing guitar, and it was amazing how these guys would sneak in the weed into different countries, into England and Germany, and they always found a way to take it, and Be Real was known to smoke wherever he wanted.
Oh yeah,
it didn't matter where it was, and he always wanted to make sure that everybody knew that he was gonna light his joint and smoke it wherever he wants, and man, he got away with it, and he really influenced, a lot of the legalization. He was part of the political scene, and he opened his own, Be Real farms and his own stores, and he made his brand, and he's right up there with Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, he really is. Pioneers. The culture.
Yeah, they come to his studio all the time.
Yeah,
they come to him. So and so does Snoop Dogg, and Snoop Dogg.
When Cheech and Chong and Snoop Dogg are coming to get their weed from you, that you got the high quality shit.
Cypress Hill is the best when it comes to the weed. They're number one. Mike Tyson comes over all the time to Be Real studio. He has a podcast, and he has a big studio downtown where he has where he does all his interviews, his recording, and he's got a big green screen, and he's got a big club down there. It's really cool, man, and everybody shows up.
Now, let me ask you this: will we see more stuff from Powerflo?
Powerflo, we had a little fallout, and I left Powerflo 2 years ago.
Okay.
And we had some internal bullshit. Okay. And we're still brothers, even though we have some hard feelings there. But I know that they recorded another album. Yeah. They did do another album with New Damage Records. And I know it's in the can, and they plan to release it and go on the road. From what I understand, they kind of went away from the rapcore. But I don't know. I haven't heard any of it. Billy Graziadei, he made it. I hear that it's more punk. I'm still in touch with Christian, Oldie Wobers, and we talk, and he told me, he played guitar on the new album, and it's just, it's probably faster and less. I don't know. I'm yet to hear it. I hope it does well. I hope the best for them, and Powerflo. That word means rap flow. It means rapcore. It means, it's a term that I made up when I was recording Sendog, and there was times where I felt that he was not giving it his all in a certain a recording session or a certain area, and I would say, hey Sen, why don't you be more aggressive on this rap, more like a yell rap, power flow it. Okay, now I understand. And then he asked me about that word, and he says, "Where'd you get that word from?" I go, "I just made it up so you can understand what I'm trying to convey to you."
Who knew you were going to be naming the band?
Yeah. So he's like, "Oh, I like that word. Let's call this project Powerflo for now."
Yeah.
This with no W. I'm like, "Fine, man. That's cool. I dig it because it's a style. It's a style. Yeah. Instead of calling it rap rock, rap core, we just call it Powerflo. So." In the beginning, it was going to be a solo project for Sen, but we turned it into a band. But it was going to be called Sendog Reintroduces the Powerflo.
Okay.
And so then when we formed the band, it became more of a band, and instead of it calling Sendog and the Three Musketeers, whatever, it's Powerflo. The whole band's called Powerflo. So that's what all that's about. And I hope they stick to the rap core because that's what it was all about. And so we'll see. Now,
Now, how do you see Downset now that you've got this album out and it did just come out very recently within the last couple of months? How do you see you guys going forward as far as releasing music? Because, and I ask a lot of musicians this because the way the market is nowadays, you're seeing a lot of people just putting out singles, or some people just want to go the EP route, or then there's still the full length album. How do you see you guys doing it? Like, what's the format that you like the most?
We still like to drop a couple 7-inches before an album,
Yeah,
but with the same company. So we like to do vinyl. Is very important for us.
yeah,
And so we, this time around we were supposed to drop. What happened was the pressing companies, almost have to wait a year now.
yeah.
So our plan was to release the old 7-inches and then the new 7-inch for a new song, but we couldn't come around to it because the pressing companies couldn't deliver in time for us. But what we like to do is drop a couple singles on vinyl first, follow it up with an LP.
Okay.
And we like to do LPs. I know how like the TikTok world is different, and it really helps certain types of music and helps metal bands and hardcore bands too. And
Sure.
There's some bands who are doing these quarter videos.
Yeah.
It works, man. Whatever works for that band, more power to them. For us, I just like to keep it old school. I like to keep it, where we drop an album. It comes out on CD and vinyl. You stream it, and then we have some 7-inch records, either before or after. But we always rely on releasing vinyl, which is important for us.
Right. And now, as you mentioned earlier, now you guys are, a band where the members are, in their 50s now. So what is the plan as far as touring now behind this album? Are you guys at a point in your life where you're just going to go off and do a small handful of dates? Are you hitting the road for weeks and months at a time? How do you approach touring as you get older and you have priorities and jobs at home and families and stuff? How is Downset going to proceed with getting out on the road?
So that's our biggest challenge right now.
Yeah.
There's a couple of us who want to be on the road 24/7.
Right.
Right. And then a couple of us have serious jobs, really serious jobs where it's going to be difficult to get some time off.
Right.
We have some challenges right there. We anticipate doing some tours. If it was for me, I would like to be out there 24/7.
Right.
I like to be out there 10 months out of the year, 9, 11, whatever.
Yeah.
I like being out on the road and playing my music. I like to play my guitar and in front of people and travel. I love meeting the people who follow us and making the connection, and it's fun. It's fun to tour. Some guys don't like to tour or don't look forward to it, but we anticipate to do as much. We haven't done a show yet, but we're hoping for next year. And it all depends on where people are in their lives, but we want to continue working with Nuclear Blast. We have a 3-record deal contract, and
congratulations, by the way. I meant to congratulate you on that. That's great, because a lot of bands out there don't have label support nowadays. So I congratulate you guys on that.
Yeah, man, and they've been nothing but great. They've been very patient with us, and I wish we could do more shows and touring. I wish we can be on the road right now, but unfortunately, right now we can't. But we want to, and we plan on touring. We plan on doing as many shows as possible, and we plan on recording the next 2 albums. So we're just hoping for the timing for everybody to come together and for it to come around and go out there and give it our best shot. So,
why has it been since we just got Maintain here? What made it so long? How come 8 years between Maintain and the last release? What was going on during that time? I'm assuming you guys don't want to wait 8 years between albums. I mean,
no, there was some member changes along the way.
Yeah.
After the Check Your People album, I left the band, and then they proceeded to go forward. They released 2 albums independently, One Blood and Universal, and there was a point where it was becoming on one of the albums it wasn't really working out financially at the time, and the guys, they were doing things independently with no tour support, and so they put their own money out of their own pocket, and they realized, it costs a lot to do a tour. It costs a lot to maintain a tour, and so basically, because the band didn't have tour support, and for those 2 albums, there really wasn't as much action, and there was, for after the One Blood album, from what I heard, there was a big money loss, and so some of the guys just decided to take a break, and then a couple of the guys decided not to come back, and so Ray was still wanting to do it, and that's when he contacted me in 2020. It was probably 3 months after I left Powerflo. So, and then he called me to mend our friendship, because we hadn't spoken in a long time. And so we did, and then the Downset topic came up, and I said, hey, if you're thinking about, if you have a wild thought about doing another Downset album, let's do it right now, because I can do it right now. I have the time. And he took me up on it, and then that's how we started the whole Maintain album. But it was just it was a thing where just time escaped us at that time, and after the One Blood album, there was some disappointments on a couple of the guys. They didn't turn out to like they wanted it to, and it was just, they realized how much it costs to go out, so it just, there was no deal for Downset there. And so, like I said, a couple of guys went off and did their own things, and three of the original members, Chris Lee, he moved to Chicago, and then Brian Schwager, one of the second guitar player, he was original member. He moved to Las Vegas, and he has a construction company. And then James Morris is a teacher at LA Valley College. So, they opted to go and get that steady check. And so is Ray. Ray works at a high-end supermarket. He's a manager there, and he's a union rep, and he works 50 hours a week. And he's the one with the serious job that, it's not a job that's very lenient and to letting him go out. So it's going to be sporadic unless he quits his job, and which is something I don't see, because he supports his mother, and he has his own condominium, a small condo in Van Nuys, and it's just him and his mom, and so for me to ask him, hey, quit your job and let's get in the van, and it's tough. So, but we're gonna try, and so I think a lot of like I said, time got away from us there for a minute, and I was doing Powerflo and other projects, and so for me, I've been active doing albums, but for Downset, it was something that just went into hiatus, and it went to hiatus for a minute, but we were able to revive it, and we want to keep it alive and keep it going, and there's no reason to break up the band.
How do you feel like this lineup that you have right now? Do you guys all feel like you're on the same page, and do you feel like this will be a solid lineup going forward for a while? Does everybody seem invested and kind of all pulling in the same direction right now?
For the most part, absolutely. We all come from the same type of upbringings, and we've known each other really well. So yeah, Philip Gonzalez is an old friend of ours. And he also played. He also played in Marauder, and he played with Cold Existence, another band that Bobby's in. And he also played in First Blood for a little while, and he's been on the road, and he's a very easygoing guy, very go with the flow type of guy, and team player, and that's what we need right now. We need those type of personalities, guys who are willing to go with the flow, and we got that in Phil and Bobby, and so right now it's just a 4-piece, and we want to keep it that way for right now. Just it costs a lot to have another guy go out, you know, even though the sound is better live, but, you know, I can pull it off, you know, with wooden guitar, and you have a good bass player like Phil, we can, you know, we can really get a really heavy sound going. So, you know, these guys are ready to go. We you know, we give them the call, you know, and it's just a matter of timing for us. And
Are there any other side projects now, or is Downset taking all of your focus right now, or is there room or any pending side projects now that you say you're not going forward with Powerflo? You know, are you somebody that likes to have something else on the other burner, or is Downset right now just got all your attention?
You know, in the last couple of years, it was just Downset. You know, that had all. You know, I had to give it all my attention.
Yeah.
Or else it wouldn't have worked out. Right now, since you know, I have some more time, I'm gonna form my own band. I'm gonna do my own band, and it's gonna be a heavy band, and it's gonna be you know, metal, and we'll see what comes around with the vocals. I'm gonna try to, you know, mess around a little bit of vocals myself and play guitar. But if Downset comes around, when it does, it's all 100% Downset for me, you know. And then I could always come around and do my own projects. Back in the day, I used to take on a lot more projects. I used to do a lot of guitar for hire in the studio. I did a lot of rap albums, and I'm able to, you know, to handle a lot of irons in the fire. I've learned how to, and I can be in 2 or 3 bands at the same time, prioritizing right, you know. As long as the bands are, you know, if I'm in 2 or 3 bands, you know, I make a deal with everybody, let them know where my priorities are, so, you know, they know where I'm going to be or where I'm not going to be. You know? So it's just a matter of letting people know up front, you know, if you do have other projects that, you know, let you know, hey, just be up front, and hey, I'm going to be doing this. If you guys are thinking of doing that, I'm not going to be available. So you give me enough time to find another guy, you know. But nowadays, you know, I've always wanted to do my own band. Where I play guitar and sing, you know, like a Dave Mustaine, you know, like that, you know, like, you know, where, you know, like a James Hetfield type of, you know, type of metal band. You know, I want to do something like that where it's just my own thing, you know. But, you know, when it comes to Downset, you know, you have business partners, and it's a democracy, and it's just it's run a little bit differently, and it's all about teamwork, and I'm all with that. And it's just a different way how I want to do my own. When I do my own project, I want to run it myself. It's just different, you know, just something I want to do for myself, you know. But like I said, in these days, it's just, you know, those 2 things. And when Downset comes back around and when we're ready to play, it's going to be 100% Downset.
Now, is there any chance that any of these musical projects will take a turn down the avenue of glam / sleaze metal? Because if you're looking for a frontman extraordinaire, Roy, you've got one right here in front of you.
Yeah. Hey, man. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows, man?
And also, I would like to also extend the invite to you that if you would like to be the part of the backing band of the greatest frontman in rock and roll, then I could offer you a position as the guitar player in Love Sword.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Love Sword. Huh?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
All right, fuck it then. All right, there you go.
Let me see if
I'm in a band with Lozano. I'm going to tell the whole damn house. See, I mean, you know,
I gotta tune my guitar differently, and you know, maybe playing a standard tuning for that kind of music. You know, it might be a change for me.
You might have to go out and get yourself some hair like Warren DeMartini.
I can grow it. I still have it. I just have it stored. I can still grow it.
Hey, believe me, man. At the end of the show, man, these locks get put away too. You know, I wish it looked this good. You know, I wish it looked. In closing, if you ever do need work, does it pay very well to be killed in one of Bobby Blood's horror movies? Probably not.
You know, I'm not too into horror. You know, Bobby's movies are scary, man.
Yeah.
He's got some scary stuff, and you know, it's not really my cup of tea.
No.
You know, acting or being in movies, it's not my thing. You know, but I don't mind. You know, I don't mind watching. You know, my buddy's artwork. You know.
Sure.
You know, I think he's very brave to do some of
Yeah.
the things and film some of the stuff that he films, because
Yeah.
it taps into a really dark area. But more power to him, and I support what he does, and he's really into it. And it's when someone's that passionate about something, you just got to respect them for it,
Sure.
because they really put their heart into it. And
Absolutely.
I hope he gets a deal because somebody's got to pick up one of his movies, or he's got some talent, man, and I think he's gonna.
He could be the next Rob Zombie. You could be in a band with the next Rob Zombie. You never know.
You never
Who
know,
knows?
man.
Okay, so Downset. Okay, so we can find Downset on all the major music platforms. What's the website? Downset.com. What are we? A com?
Yeah, it's Downset. It's Downset.com and Downset official on IG.
And you're a pretty approachable guy. I know that you've given out your email address. You're always willing to talk to the fans. You're always very approachable about Downset questions and about questions in you in general. Still got that same kind of open door policy?
Anytime, man. That's what I'm here for. I love to interact with our following.
Yeah.
And if they have a lot of questions, there's a lot of questions about Downset, and
sure.
And people are still learning about Downset.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to clear the air. I'm the original member that formed the band, and I've seen the band through its peaks and valleys, and I've seen the good and the hard times, and a lot of people, they want some advice. They're in bands themselves, and they ask me questions from me, whether it could be my rig, or how to get a record deal, or how the band formed, or why this guy's not in the band. And if you have the questions, I know I have the answers. If it has to do with Downset, so if anybody wants to send me an email, or my email is rogelio7@gmail.com.
Okay.
And anybody can get a hold of me, or I run the IG page. Bobby and I runs the IG page for Downset Official. You can ask me any questions there, or or friend me on IG, and I'm any questions anybody has about Downset, I have the answer. Pretty much.
You are the OG, sir. You are the OG. Put some fucking respect on this man's name. That's the guitar player for Downset, and this new album, Maintain, is gonna melt fucking faces. It's a sick guitar tone, and the music is just so heavy. The lyrics are all about fucking, I just love the message behind it. I mean, you guys are back. You're fucking back on top, my friend.
Thank you, bro. It means a lot to me, man. It was hard to do, and this is the type of reaction that I was hoping to get, and I just feel ecstatic that I'm getting the reactions that I am. We might not selling 1 million albums or having 10 million views on things, but we're very satisfied with the outcome of the recording, and the overall recording process, and the songs that we written, and the subjects and the artwork. It all came together. It all came together for us because we all were trying really hard.
And the video is pretty cool. And the video is pretty cool too. The place to be. I love the place to be. I'm hoping that I'm in the place to be. But if people want to know where the place to be is, where is it? It's sitting down listening to the new Downset album, right? That's the place to be.
That's right, man. That's where it is, man. That's the place to be, right there.
Man, I'm telling you, man, I really had a blast talking to you, man. I appreciate you being so generous with your time, man, spending a goddamn hour and a half with me on here, breaking your balls all day and putting you through the fucking string of questions, man. But you've been a good sport, man. I love talking to you, man.
It's my pleasure, man. Anytime, anytime anybody wants to talk about, something that I do, or my brand, or my band,
that's refreshing.
More than happy to talk about it, because it's I like people, like I said, people have questions, and I want to be able to, answer all these questions that, we've been getting throughout the years. And so, and like I said, man, it's my pleasure.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been a real honor. It really has, man. And I invite everyone to go out there, my whole POD SCUM audience, and go out and check out the new Downset album, Maintain. It just came out a couple of months ago, right? Hot off the presses.
That's right, man. So the vinyl is going to come out on N Hits Records in Europe. You can buy it on an import. And then Nuclear Blast is doing the CDs and the streaming. And so we're getting a combination of help with these labels, and it's just been great.
Yeah.
It's been great.
I congratulate you on the album. Congratulations on ending up on Nuclear Blast. Just a great label to end up on, man, with a rich history of a lot of great, heavy metal acts on there. I'm glad for you guys. I really am. You're a hardworking band that really deserves it, man. And I really appreciate you spending the time with us tonight. Thanks a lot, Roy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my bro. Anytime.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do it again sometime, my friend. Stay in touch.
Yeah, then let's write some songs for your glam band.
We're gonna get Love Sword off the ground, 2023, baby. We're doing it.
Love Sword. I like that.
You heard it right here, man. Read between the lines. Love Sword, Roy.
Love Sword. All right, bro.
Love you, brother. Yeah, love you, brother.
Love you too. All
Great
right.
talking to you. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Brother. Thank you, brother.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, you too. Well. What do you know? An hour and a half with another legend. That is Rogelio Lozano, a.k.a. Roy Lozano, a.k.a. Shredder Extraordinaire for the band Downset. And if you don't know who Downset is, get the fuck out of here. Downset just put out a new album called Maintain. If you want to hear some heavy and some hip-hop melded together beautifully, and you want to hear a sick guitar tone that you can mosh around your living room and break shit to, this is the album for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, man. That was a great episode, man. And just want to let you guys know that I love my audience out there, and I will see you again next time on Pod Scum. Until next time, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.